Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Sorry for the delay. A little bit of Zoom issues this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's coming on. Looks great. Oh my gosh, so many awesome folks. Fantastic. So good to see everybody. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the VO Dojo's Get to Know VO. This is a regular series that we do at the VO Dojo where we focus on a subject that's probably on your mind at whatever level you are working in your voiceover career. If you're just thinking about it, or if you've been in the mix and as a working pro for a long time, hopefully these are helpful things. I'm Tish Hicks. I am the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California. We are joined by Jeffrey Gilbank, who is our going to be facilitating things here. And Sensei Cat Campion is here as well. And today we are talking about the subject of how to build your home studio. So this is something that it has to be on everybody's mind at some point, right? And once you build your first studio, you will probably evolve into your next studio, or you'll move, or something will happen that you always have to be creating the space where you are working now more than ever. I always say I've been doing this for a long time, as I'll show in as we begin the presentation. I've been doing this for a long time, and when I started, we didn't have to have home studios because we went to the agent's office and we went to studios to do sessions, and now we have to. So as we're getting started, would love to hear where you are coming from, and if you have a home studio, if you have a home, if you have a home studio, or if you don't, let us know what your setup is. Just brief, like get an idea of where everyone's at, and we will get started. So let's see here. All right, let me get our presentazione up and we will begin. Okay, so many windows. Okay, here is this, and I'm going to press, okay, I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to press play, share, and then I'm going to press play. I'm going to press play. Okay, can everyone see that? Yay! All right. So we established that we're here at the VO Dojo. We established that this is Get to Know VO, how to build your home studio. We've established that I am Tish Hicks. So a little bit about me. I've been a VO pro in the LA market for 25 plus years. I've been a voice for Subaru for the last 11 years, voice of Workday, and many, many other campaigns and all sorts of other genres. What is the VO Dojo? If this is your first time joining us, the VO Dojo is a full training program that is dedicated to guiding, connecting, supporting, and accelerating you every step of the way from I don't know to working pro. So wherever you are on that journey, we are here to support you and deepen and further your sustained successful voiceover career. The dojo is also a brilliant community with the dojo team of senseis that we work with. Ben Carroll in Chicago, Sensei Kat is here from Minneapolis today. Sensei Terry is based in Atlanta, and Sensei Steph is based in Arizona. So we cover cover a lot of territory, and both in location and in expertise. So today we're talking about getting started with your studio. A lot of times I think people might see this and go, oh, I'm going to go on that webinar and I'm going to get all the answers. Specifically, what am I going to go to the store and get? And the good news is that setting up your studio isn't that complicated. The bad news is it also isn't a set answer, like do this and do this and do this. Because the reality is that each of our home studios is unique to us and the space that we are in, right? And each time you shift something, you need to make adjustments. So the way we're going to approach this Get to Know VO today, we're going to talk about, first of all, as we always do at the dojo, the internal aspects of it. So the mindset, how can you be thinking about this? And then we'll review some basic elements of what is required for a home studio, what makes a good home studio. And I'm super excited to share the evolution of a studio. We have some examples of various studios that are part of the Dojo team setups, and you can kind of compare and contrast. And so that's the overview of what we'll be doing today. And then we will, of course, open it up to your questions, and we'll explore what we can together, as we always do at the dojo. So let's begin with mindset, the source of all things. There's three things we want to explore in the realm of mindset. The first is what I'm calling the tech spectrum. Each of us lies somewhere on the tech spectrum. On one end, from a scale of 1 to 10, you might be a technophobe, like, oh no, I don't know what the buttons do. It makes me nervous. I'm anxious. I don't know. It's overwhelming. On the other end of the tech spectrum, you might be a gearhead. You might already be a sound engineer, or you might really love getting into the nitty-gritty and the deep depths of the tech stuff, right? All of this is a continuum. We are all on it somewhere. And ideally, what we want to be at a place is is that we're somewhere in the middle. We're somewhere in the middle there. So we aren't so confused that we're stopping ourselves, and we're not so focused on all the tech stuff that we're not, actually, I'm going to go back for a second because I wanted to share another metaphor, that we're not focused on our baby. Coming back for a second here, I put an image of a nursery, of a baby nursery here. Which is probably confusing without an explanation, but I put the image of the baby nursery here because really, if you think about it, setting up your studio, your home studio, if you're doing it for the first time, is really getting ready for the baby of your career or wherever you are going next, the baby that you are gestating as you build your skills and build your business to live, and you have a place for it. Now, if anyone is a parent, there was a moment when you went to Babies R Us and went, oh my God, what is all this stuff? And then if you had another kid, you're like, oh, okay, here's what we got it down to. So just keeping that in mind, that what this idea of a home studio is, this place where your voiceover career is going to live in your home. And like a baby, it's something that you grow and will continue to grow and evolve. Nobody's 20-year-old sleeps in their crib anymore, right? It changes. And also is not going away, ideally, right? We don't set up a nursery and go like, I didn't like that baby. let's make it back into a TV room, right? It's something that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, ideally, or, there's always adoption. So coming back to where we were in the mindset. So let's do a little interaction. Where would you put yourself on the scale of 1 to 10 of being a technophobe or a gearhead? Just get a sense of where people are. And there's no right or wrong. There's no anything. There's no anything that's right or wrong here. Yeah. And, there might be stuff that comes up like, ooh, I don't know where I am. So ideally, again, we want to be in this like pH balanced part of like 5 to 7 here. Yeah, I'm trying to, I didn't have my chat open. Hold on 1 second, because I want to interact with you guys. So let me get my chat open here. Okay, so there's my chat. Solid 5. Awesome. Good, good, good. And of course, so let's play again. All right, good. All right. Great. Okay. Good, good, good. Lots of really good self-assessments. That's great. Okay, the second idea that we want to share here in this mindset is keep it simple. It's so easy to get overwhelmed or think you need to have this and the fancy something or other. Kind of like the baby. You don't need that bassinet with the ruffle. Really, you don't need it. Really, all you need if you have baby is you can put it in a drawer for a while, and we'll kind of explore how that evolution happens. So in terms of keeping it simple, we want to set our minds to getting what you need, getting comfortable with what you need to know to do about what you need to know to do what you need to do, right? That's pretty much all you need to do. Getting what you need is meaning that you sound good enough. As our home studio master Dan Leonard, who is in the Sequoias today, says you don't need to. It's not about sounding good as much as not sounding bad, right? We want good raw sound. We need good raw sound. And I put this picture of this beautiful radiant face with no makeup. That's ideally what we want our home studios to be able to produce. What you need is stay within your budget, right? We don't need to get the fanciest pants thing when we're just starting out. Just get what you need. So the second thing, get comfortable with what you need to know to do what you need to do. You need to know how to drive a car, not how the carburetor works necessarily. As you get more into it, if you do, that's okay, but you don't need that to do what you need. You need to be able to know how to ask the basic questions, to know the basics to be able to ask the questions. That's really what you need to know. And how to do simple maintenance, like how to fix a flat tire if you are driving your car. So we'll keep the metaphor straight. We're talking about VO. We've metaphored babies, and now we've metaphored makeup and cars. So the third thing, keeping it simple, is get to know the people who can help. Because if you don't know something, it's really good to have on your team and in your realm someone who does know, right? So you can send a sample to Dan Leonard, or you have someone on your team who knows more, or in your realm, in your circle, that you feel comfortable about asking when you need help. So you don't have to know everything, just like you have a mechanic for your car, right? Have a tech pro who can help. George Whittam, Dan Leonard, Frank Verdosa, Jordan Reynolds, all of those, Uncle Roy, all those people are people who can help. And the last one is get creative. Get creative. How can you take what you have and make what you need? We might be selling or giving away something that you need. It doesn't have to be you getting the, get what you need. So, and then also, how can you collaborate? How can you collaborate on your tech questions, on your tech gathering of equipment? And the third concept of the mindset is understanding that when you're setting up your studio, this is just the beginning. There is a learning curve. There's a learning curve in understanding your tech. There's a learning curve in building your skills. And, just like you didn't know how to drive a car at one point, and now you do, the more you do it, the more relaxed you'll be, the more you understand, the more you get it, the more you come up with problems that need to be solved, and you know how to solve them. And the other thing that we're going to reiterate every single point that we bring up in this session is start where you are and upgrade as you continue to earn, right? Put your business, reinvest in your business as you make money in your business. So, any thoughts about that? Anything come to mind? Making sense? I'm going to keep on going if everyone's got that. So that is the first point, mindset. The mindset around your home studio recording and tech. Right. Let's talk about the elements, the basic elements of a home studio. What do you need to get started? So creating, again, another framework of how we can think about this. You can think about the elements that you need. Are there things that you need to do, like record, convert, edit, and listen? When you put all those things together in the lingo of tech talk, of engineering, that's called your audio signal flow. So those are the things that you do, the things that get things from your mouth through the microphone, through all of these elements that we'll talk about in a second, to my ears, right? That's the signal, the signal flow. Sometimes it's called the signal chain. The other elements, the other half of the elements, is what you need to have and take into consideration. So you need to have quiet. We'll talk about what brings that. You need to have ventilation. I think ventilation is like the redheaded stepchild of setting up your booth. Like, we're all like, oh, it's so quiet. And then we need to step into it and breathe at the same time. And that's a whole nother thing. And that all has to be quiet too. And then there's the idea of connectivity, of what do we need to have in place in terms of internet connection. Last time, one of these other get to know the dojos or get to know VOs, we talked about doing voiceover wherever you are, and connectivity is really a part of that. Okay, let's keep on going. So this is gonna be like, boom, here's a bunch of information, but you'll get the replay. So don't panic, don't panic. So in terms of recording, you need a microphone. There are several different kinds of microphone that work in different ways. I'm not going to go into the huge details of how each works, but just know that there are different kinds of microphones. A USB mic powers itself and you plug right into your computer. It's a great place to start. A dynamic mic is sometimes used for voiceover and a lot for music. So you just need to know a dynamic mic creates sound through a physical interaction of sound moving a coil and then being transmitted into analog waves. And a condenser mic, which is the realm of voiceover, a condenser mic is a really good place to be aspiring to. A condenser mic uses electricity to gather the electricity is gathered on a plate and then transformed into sound waves. So that's a little bit, that's like the beep, beep, beep of kind of how it works. But here we've given you a range of each of these realms. So these are good mics, and I wanted to give you a sense of what the range of mics can be. So that is that. In addition to the microphone, you need to think of, in terms of your nursery, right? You need to have a mic stand, ideally a boom arm, so you can put your microphone so it's hanging down and you can not need a pop filter then. A shock mount to keep vibrations from coming up from the floor. And if you're not mounting your microphone above you, you might want to have a pop filter to keep the plosives there. So that's a little snapshot. Again, there's no right or wrong microphone. There are sort of industry standards. On the West Coast, the Sennheiser 416 shotgun mic is usually what you'd find in a studio. On the East Coast, it might be the Neumann U87. So there's not any right or wrong. There's something that makes you sound good enough, and you can explore as you continue to grow. And that's really what I want to do with this presentation, is have you understand what the things are, and then you can explore. So hopefully this is helping. Also, I'm going to keep on going because I want to get all the info out and then get to the questions. So the second thing that we talked about that you need to do is convert, and this is part of your equipment for your home studio. So if you don't have a USB mic that you plug right into your computer, you will need an audio interface. This converts analog waves into digital. And there's a range of interfaces, and they get even fancier, right? Because one of the things that's really important to recognize is that most recording stuff is made to record music, right? So we just need to know what we need. This is a really nice range of some products. Focusrite Scarlett 212, you can't go wrong. It's $100. I have my Apogee Duet in my studio, and I also use my Focusrite all the time. You do need a computer that works, or an iPad that works and is fast. This is a technology-driven industry, and so you do need to have an up-to-speed computer, so you're able to deliver in up-to-speed ways. Mac or PC is okay. I do find that the voiceover world is a little more Mac-centric. So, but both work. You need to be able to edit. You need to know what your DAW is, your digital audio workstation. So I'm trying to toss in these little lingo things too. So when you're talking with people at a conference or somewhere online, then you go, oh, a DAW. Okay, that's the thing you edit on, right? So I've separated these into some options, some free options, some affordable options, and then more investment options. Really, you can get started anywhere. I personally use Twisted Wave, and I love it. I love it. You need to know which ones work with whichever platform you're going for. Okay, and really, I would say it used to be like when I was doing audiobooks a few years ago and doing stuff from home, it was like you had to have Pro Tools, and I'm like, you don't have to have Pro Tools now. It doesn't have to be that complicated. There's nothing that we're doing that's complicated. So, so that is your DAW, the digital audio workstation, and that is how you edit your work. You need a way to listen, right? This is a recorded tape-based medium. We need to be able to listen back. So there's two parts, two ways that you can do that in your studio, either with headphones, so you can hear what's going on closely, or with studio monitors. Now, studio monitors, you want to think of in a different way than speakers, right? Speakers are designed to make music sound great and the experience of music sound and feel great. Studio monitors are to shine a light on what's happening with the sound, so you can get a sense of if there's anything that needs to be addressed, right, or anything that could be better. So just understanding that. So here's a little range of some headphones and some studio monitors. In terms of headphones, you do want to avoid noise canceling headphones. You want to avoid in-ear headphones, and you want to avoid gaming headphones because they're designed for different purposes, right? Noise canceling is to keep other people's voices out. We want to hear their voices. So cool. Going down the list, we're into the haves. What you need to have. You need to have quiet. So there's two things that you need to explore and take into consideration when you're thinking about how am I making my space quiet so I can record. One is the idea of sound absorption, so that sound isn't reflecting around. And the other is sound isolation, keeping sound out, right? So if you're setting up a home studio, an interior closet is better than one that is facing the road. A room without a big window and traffic going by is better than one with. If you have a basement, that has the earth around it, and it is, but it also often has all of your mechanical stuff, your furnaces and air conditioners and things that make a lot of noise. You want to balance that out. And then as you're getting into creating spaces, really anything that you're building that has double-walled construction or multiple layers of air that gets trapped, that keeps the sound from coming in, right? Here's the little thing you can do in your space and see where right now, if you could record from here, it's a really simple thing. Just clap your hands and listen. Clap your hands and listen and see what is. I just got some new carpeting in my my office here, and it sounds pretty good. The carpet really works. We don't have a lot of the stuff back in, so the stuff also will add to that. But what did you just notice? How's your sound? Is it really, is your space really echoey? Is it really muffled? What did you notice? You know, type in there. And that's a little test that you can do when you're finding which space in your house might be a good spot to set your studio up. Okay. Let's keep on going. Ventilation, airflow, and temperature. You need to take into consideration fan noise from your computer, from your things that are keeping air moving. How do you get air conditioning working? You might need to have something outside blow in for a while. My friend Lila Berzins, she cools herself down. She goes in her booth and she has vests of ice packs, and she makes it so she brings the cool with her to do her work. But taking into consideration that as part of your build. Let's see. And the last part of this is connectivity. We can do this from anywhere that has internet. I was working from Maui for 2.5 months, which was beautiful and amazing. And the connectivity was awful. And I could get my auditions done, but I had to find a studio to do my sessions. So things to take in consideration here is your internet speed. Here's some ideal download and uploads. You want to be able to be hardwired with Ethernet if you can, just to make sure that you're in a session, there's nothing that drops out. You want to be as consistent as possible. And also, it's not every session, and if you're, but having reliable Zoom or Skype, and I think Zoom probably more, is a really important thing. Bunch of options. The industry standard, like what you'll see on auditions and must have Source Connect, must be available with Source Connect, is sort of the thing. So to have your setup include access to Source Connect standard, not the free one and not the pro one, but Source Connect standard, is probably a good idea. And you don't, there's a lot of more discussion about how that works and what that's involved, but you want to fit this into your budget of your studio. And and then there's nuances of how and when to get it set up. Some other options for connectivity is IPDTL, Connection Open, Hidalgo Call, and Session Link Pro. Various different pricing structures and how you are able to connect with people. So those are other things that, A, if someone talks about those things, you know what they are, and B, things to explore in terms of, as you're setting up your studio, it's not only a nursery where you're building your skills, but it's also your storefront, right? How are you able, I'm just making this up right now, but you know how a store may take Visa and MasterCard and American Express to allow anybody who comes in to purchase things? Metaphorically speaking, if you have one or two options of how to connect, that could be good for your business. Okay. Excellent. All right. So we have covered the elements that are needed for setting up a home studio, what you need to do, and what you need to have. So all those things to take into consideration. Let's see what we're doing time-wise. Are there any, let's see, I'm trying to think. Anyone have any questions about anything we've covered so far? I feel like I've been talking a lot and I want to kind of hear, and then I also want to make sure, well, you know what? Hold your questions because we're going to get to them. I want to breeze through this last idea and then we'll open up to all the questions. But I wanted to give you, we'll take a little pause. If you have a question, you can type it in now. Okay. So let's continue. We've built on mindset. We've talked about the elements you need. And let's talk about the evolution of your booth. The real thing you need to know is start where you are. So you can get started. You just need to make sure it sounds good. Just like if you have a baby, you can put it in a drawer and make sure it's soft and safe, and you're still taking good care of your baby, right? And if you have the means to get a carved oak thing from an Italian designer, that's cool too. And the baby's going to sleep in there and be safe, and then it's going to grow as well. So start where you are, and let's explore some options of how you can approach this. Options and budgets, right? So here's an example of a do-it-yourself version of a home studio that is way less than $500. I included the price of a refurbished iPad mini if you're starting with nothing. So here, this is a canvas box from Target with you're not even using all the 12-pack of acoustic foam. This is an older model of Apogee mic, a mic 96. So you can get those refurbished or used for really, it's a good mic. It's a good mic, a good tiny little mic, and can get the job done. And you can work with an iPad mini if you don't have a big fast computer yet. Yeah, so that's something you can do. Now, the things you need to take into consideration here is how are you going to read your copy? I use my phone. If I'm ever in a situation like this, I just put my copy on my phone here. Then you plug it in. And then you do need to play around and be in your awareness and find the sweet spot of where your microphone in this box, that's, the microphone is the thing that needs to have the sound absorbed, where it is in relationship to your voice coming out and things like that. So play around and make sure it sounds good. It's not just because you plunk this in the box that it's guaranteed. You have to kind of experiment and feel it out. Another great do-it-yourself low budget way to get a pretty good sounding space, and also a space that is your dedicated space, right? That you don't have to shift it, is a PVC booth built out of PVC pipes and moving blankets, packing blankets, really. This one is, it's not vocal booth, vocal booth to go. You can get the whole thing ready to roll, including the packing blankets and the roof thing that goes on top. Or you can get plans and you can build it yourself. So a PVC pipe booth is something that's great if you have space, right? Because there's all these variables: who has quiet, who has space. This elegant looking solution is this is really my travel setup. This is putting your setup in your existing clothes closet or where you might be traveling. This is 20 velvet hangers, a few on each side and one in the middle. My Apogee Hype mic, which I put the tripod on there and balance it. My computer goes on the shelf there, and I read and I record from there. It works. It really works. I've done sessions in so many different places with this particular setup, and it's really elegant and simple to travel with too. And this was my original home studio for many, many years, a dedicated closet. This, once again, creates a space that is your space to do your work. This closet is pretty cool because it has all sorts of storage on the other side and then this little alcove. But these are some of the things that I put into my dedicated closet. My mic here for many years, AT4040, very affordable workhorse of a mic that has launched many a campaign. That I've done lots and lots of work on that. I'm going to, the next one is I'm going to have Sensei Kat jump in, and she'll be here answering questions too. But Sensei Kat sent a picture of her setup in Minneapolis. And Kat, can you share a little bit about how you set up your spaces wherever you are?
Sure. Do you have that photo, or do you need me to pull it up?
The photo should be up on the screen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Everybody's seeing the presentation, aren't they?
Right. I was just seeing everybody.
Oh God, you just gave me a massive back. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes, we can see the doggy.
Okay. Yep. So let's see. I was going to kind of go first. I wanted to say, before I forget, I want to put forward the idea that maybe we stop referring to the place where we make our living like as a home studio. I realized a couple of years ago, I just call it my studio. A couple of years ago, I kind of dropped the home, because you don't want to accidentally say to a client like, oh, I have a home studio. It sounds amateurish or like, yeah. So maybe we just start calling it our recording studio, our voiceover studio, because if you're making money in it, it should be at least at that entry pro level, So food for thought. So I'm going to go over all the little things that I have evolved towards over the past 15 years, namely that I spent 3 years in the closet, and I know a lot of people think that is the only place they can do it. I go back and listen to my recordings from 12 to 15 years ago, and they sound like I'm in a closet. I've never been in a pro studio in my life that was smaller than, I don't know if y'all can kind of get an idea of my sort of 10 by, well, let's say 8 by 8 foot space here. I've never been in one that was smaller than like 4 by 4 anyway. So walk-in closet, great, but try to get out of the closet if you can. If you can put a corner in your room, if you don't have the luxury that I have, a tiny little guest bedroom that we had that was just the right size for a recording studio. But before here, I was at Hollywood and Highland for a decade, which is a very noisy neighborhood. And I didn't have a closet, thank goodness, because I had to figure out a workaround. That house had a 2-story house and it had 0 closets. So I put panels that I bought on like Craigslist, like a guy used to make them for $35. And if he still did, man, I would share that link in the chat, but I don't think I haven't been able to find him anyway. So I just put like a track on my ceiling and then hung like you can get it at IKEA, an IKEA track, and then you clip like heavy blankets or curtains, and then you can open and close it. So you don't really need extra space. You can tuck it in a place where you already would like sit and work at your computer. So to this photo now, this is the room I'm in right now. And most of it's just stuff I already had. I have not spent much money on this. I'll kind of work from top to bottom of like biggest effect it's going to make on your sound to some little interesting things I've added over the years. So these gray things, these are DIY, homemade, inexpensive acoustic sound panels. Maybe Jeffrey could drop the link in the chat of the YouTube video I used. You can just Google DIY sound panels. These were 10 cents on the dollar. I made 10 for $250 rather than $2,500 buying them, made. And you can pick whatever colors you want for them. You can make them yourself. I'm not super handy. My partner is, we made them together. If you don't want to pick up a drill and a hammer, okay, then this one's maybe not for you. I do have a couple bass traps. George Whittam is really on this big crusade to warn people about the toxicity of new foam panels and the fact that foam doesn't do a lot for your acoustics. So make inexpensive panels rather than covering yourself with like that toxic foam stuff. Now, these I got for free on Craigslist, these bass traps in the corner. It's really important to capture the sound in the corners, the edges of your spaces. And these were old, so they had already kind of gassed off all their toxicity. On the ceiling, you will see, let's see, what was the next one, Jeffrey? I had then you could maybe drop the link about the panels you could buy, and they're not super expensive, the ones you could buy for like maybe double or triple the price that I paid to make them. Then on the ceiling, I have Felt-Rite tiles. I discovered their sticky stuff is not really ceiling friendly. So I used to have this beautiful mountain range on my ceiling. I now have like 8 of the 30 panels still stuck there. So they are great and inexpensive. For $100-200, you can get these acoustic tiles in all different colors and shapes, and you can make little artistic designs in your studio, especially great if you're doing Zoom meetings in there too and you want it to look cool. I have a carpeting over a carpeting on the floor. So these were just like, it was a really nice carpet over like an ugly one I had from before. So extra ground stuff. There's a twin bed. That's our guest bed. And so that absorbs a lot of sound. There's a dog. If you have pets and they're quiet, they can absorb some sound. There's pillows. There's like pillows. So if you see me right now, like in the video behind me, those are just pillows we already had. There's like a tablecloth that I put over my panels. It's another layer of sound absorption. And now I have like a pretty background instead of just the gray panels. Now this wall to the right-hand side, that is just a clothing rack that you can get for like $50, maybe for free on Craigslist or Buy Nothing or something, or you already have one. That's a clothing rack. And I draped fabrics that I already had, sheets and blankets, like those heavy packing blankets. And that makes a wall to make the space a little smaller so I don't have to treat so heavily the entire space. If you look at where my, what do you call this keyboard is, under my keyboard, there's a massive, it's like a little mouse pad, but it's massive. I guess they're for gaming, and it covers the wood or metal of your desk, so it's like a sound absorption. You can see that little white fuzzy thing sticking out on the side. That's just like a piece of fuzzy cloth I had because there was extra desk exposed. So I put that. So yeah, you can make, I spent a few $100s on all this, and I'm not in a closet. Oh, heavy fabric curtains that I can open up and let the light in. And whenever I record, I close them down. So that's about it. My studio's almost complete. I need to redo some sound absorption on the ceiling since those tiles fell, but I'll probably mount a couple of my acoustic sound panels over. Someone mentioned they're short and the roof of their thing is only 6 feet. You want enough room that your voice, and you also don't want 100% coverage. You want people say 40 to 80%. I like less coverage. I like the reflectivity and sound of my space without everything being absorbed and deadened and muffled. So don't feel like you have to cover every square inch of your space.
Right. In space, nobody can hear you do voiceover.
There
If
you go.
you create a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone has questions for me, they can drop them in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna complete the like range. This is fantastic. And also you are in a quieter space now, right? Your neighborhood in Minneapolis is quieter than in Hollywood.
Maybe I was in a cottage, in a collection of cottages, and I was the most removed. So other than the occasional from someone's like lowrider car or whatever, it really wasn't an issue. So as long as you're not, in a super busy neighborhood, I still have to pause when there's an airplane or a lawnmower or whatever. There's nothing you can really do about that other than like the $20,000 booth. And I don't want to be in a small booth. I decided a long time ago, I'll just figure out a way to be in a room. Breathe.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of that, so this evolution can go to having a recording booth and having a sizable recording booth. This is my recording booth now. This is a 6x6 whisper room that if you bought it new was $12,000. I carried on the lineage of one of my voiceover colleagues, Kim Strauss. He was moving and he wanted to find a good home for this. So I did not pay $12,000 for it, but it is nice to have, you're actually stepping into what is, kind of office sized. And so this is something that you can aspire to. A Studio Bricks is another recording booth that you can get and have and aspire to, but you don't need to start here, and you don't need to have this to get started. I think Sensei Steph is here.
I am.
Well, and I don't have your pictures in, but
Oh, I do.
I was intrigued because we were talking about Stephanie's situation and how she's been sort of thrift storing. If you have just a couple minutes that you can tell us how you've been approaching it.
I do. I'll be very quick. Let me share I can share my screen to show you guys pictures. So my situation is that I have a studio. I broke up with the boyfriend. The studio that was built for my voiceover is still mine. I found a house to rent around the corner, so I can still come to my pro setup for sessions, but I need something for auditions. So what I have, let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. Can you see that? You can. Okay, so this is a little guest bedroom in a rental that I have. So what I do is, I still haven't finished yet. You see it has the potential to be very loud. Desk from Goodwill, that thing that all the computers are on raises and lowers, and I got that through Facebook Marketplace. So here's another shot. So what I'm going to do, and I did this before in my house in LA a long time ago, I have these little panels. What I'm going to do, let me back up a little bit, I'm sorry. So I found one of these, the room panel divider thingamadoos at Goodwill for like $20. I painted it because it was really ugly. What I'm going to do is take this Gorilla Glue spray glue And whoops, that's not it.
And that's why
And
she
that
lives
was a
where
pretty
she
painting. Yeah,
lives.
so what I'm going to do is, here's my arm, this morning, spray the back of these acoustic panels and attach them to what will be the inside of this room divider. Okay. And this way I won't get in trouble with my landlord because I'm not permanently attaching things to the wall. And I will then be able to eventually, so I will put that room divider here with the panels obviously facing towards me. Then I can get another way to attach panels or some type of absorption to the wall. If you're a renter and you can't pound in there, you take some cardboard, cut up some of your Amazon boxes, take a piece of cardboard, and you actually can glue that to the back of an acoustic panel. And then you can get those little, 3M hooks that can come on and off because it'll be super light. Just sort of rinky dink your own little hanging system. And then you can hang them from the walls and then easily remove them when you want to get your security deposit back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Good budget so far.
Yeah. And the budget so far, this stuff is going to cost you about 10. I think the glue is the most expensive stuff that you have to get, and these panels I got through, same with like Craigslist type of thing. So right now my little studio that I'm putting together is probably going to total out about $150.
Yeah.
I already had this is like a little acoustic catch thing. Sorry, the picture's not great. That I had from my singing days. I just set it down there, so that's going to add some backing as well. This is my travel mic. It's a Rode shotgun that I use for traveling because it's very, very focused. It's not like the Neumanns that I have. This is my home studio. Sorry, it looks a little messy right now, but this is where I'm sitting right now. As you see, this is much more compiled. I lowered the ceilings with these floating panels. This one is movable. And then these I was able to attach. And again, like Kat said, I don't want full coverage. I like some of the, the juice that comes up with the other stuff because my voice is lower, and so I like those high ends also coming through.
So this is your session. This is your session studio.
This is my very messy, but this is my session studio. This is a whole standalone building. This whole setup, $10,000 maybe. This was obviously, I have one of these that I had built in Los Angeles as well, where I was living for quite a while, which has a lot more ambient noise. And again, it was like a tough shed. I had a tough shed installed, and then I had 2 layers of drywall and then was able to attach all this stuff. And I sort of repeated the same exercise here in Arizona where I live now. And I have 2 different mic racks so that when I want to do standing stuff, I attach one of my mics here. Right now it's sitting because I was doing an audiobook, so I sit for audiobooks because they take much longer.
Yeah.
But
this is great, and actually, like building out a space, building a studio is sort of like one step beyond having a room or a prefab studio. So we really have covered all the evolution, really, and otherwise,
because I started, I had a closet in the very beginning. Same thing. It was a small walk-in closet, and it was very uncomfortable. But I've got stuff out there in the world that I laugh because I'm like, that was recorded in a closet.
It's 2022. Get out of the closet.
well, this was a long time ago. Yes, I finally broke out of the closet. Yeah, but it's an evolution, and that's why you learn to do your best no matter what the situation is, no matter where you are. Direct yourself in a really good way, and also learn to know how you sound the best. How no matter they don't have to know that I'm recording it in sweatpants, and if I was in a closet, or they don't need to know. I always tell them, I'm like, I sound very well dressed every time.
Excellent. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get my cursor hooked on bananas. I can't.
I wanted to stop sharing that. Sorry, I hit the wrong thing.
Oh, hold on. My cursor's gone insane. What's going on here? Come on, little cursor, you can do it. I want to share
Yeah,
this.
but if anybody ever has questions about doing a full build out, I had George Whittam gave me a lot of great advice, and then I did a lot of my own hunting and pecking of certain materials that were that are known to be the best type of insulation that's for soundproofing, what the deal is with the drywall, stuff like that. There's a lot of details, but I'm always happy to help and
Hold
help with the, you know, little stuff for temporary as well.
on.
But I'm
Okay.
going to have to log off. I have someone coming in for a session. So,
Awesome.
so you guys, thanks for letting me pop in. I'm glad I was able to
Nice,
come
and
in.
thanks,
Bye, you
Yeah, thank
guys.
you.
Be well
Okay.
soon.
Now, hold on a second because I've lost our keynote. I've lost our keynote. Boy. Cool. Well, we're coming, like that is the trajectory. So I would love to start answering some questions. And well, actually, hold on one second. Let me get this. Yeah, if you want to start putting your questions in the chat, we can open this up. It's 11 o'clock now. We'll go for, I think another half hour if you have time, stay for what you can and listen to the recording.
I would love to share a little about my insights into the travel setup, Tish, because we didn't really go into
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because for example, I just got back from a week in the UP and the Northwoods of Wisconsin, and I was afraid that I might have to do a session while I was traveling. So I looked on Google Maps and I found a professional recording studio in the Northwoods of northern Wisconsin. 10-20 minutes from my mom's cabin deep in a national forest. So they're everywhere. So I really encourage people, instead of stressing out about like the job, you can audition on vacation, you can audition while you travel, you can decide where on that spectrum you fall from, like, I'm never taking work with me, to some of us love our work so much and we don't want to lose clients that I don't mind working. Jeffrey and I have some great stories about being at VO Atlanta a few months ago and him having his Apogee hype mic, and I recorded 2 4-figure jobs in the walk-in closets there with pillows and blankets all around. And this is not the hype mic, but this is the Apogee mic I've made a bunch of money off of and traveled with. Now I use it for like auditions. I don't really use it for jobs, but just to get creative about like Googling around, like where is there a pro or semi-pro studio you could go into? So I don't stress about like trying to do jobs on the road. But then for my
You get to
portable,
meet really cool people too. Like I had to do that in Maui and I met the most amazing people. If you're ever in Maui, Backlit Buddha Studios, it's awesome.
I
Yeah.
already made friends in my new town of Ypsilanti, Michigan, because there's so many recording studios outside of Detroit. I've already made like new friends for going in and recording there. And I was just texting today with Randy Moosewood, the guy that has the recording studio in the woods. And he's like, rock on, voice lady. So I haven't even met him yet. I'm just like, you're my standby guy. Are you available this week? Are you available? So I've had him on standby a bunch of times. I've never needed him, but it's great if you can kind of prep in advance wherever you're traveling around the world. Just find someone who has a booth. And then people like travel with their like collapsible stuff. I'm like, just go make a pillow for it, just audition. And when you book the job, just use like a studio, wherever you are, because they're everywhere.
Good. Thank you for bringing that up, Kevin. And that really is like the whole evolution and the travel pack. So let's see here. Because we're at the top of the hour and some might need to roll, we're going to go for another half hour, so you're all good. But if you do need to roll, I just wanted to share how do you get to where you want to go or the next place? If this struck your imagination or you like how we're working here, we would love to work with you and meet you where you're at and see how we can help you get to where you want to be. Join us all the time. If anyone's at the beginning of their journey or wants to complement and supplement where you are in the middle of your journey and set a foundation for moving forward and hitting the ground running, our next You Should Do Voiceover Intensive is coming up Monday, August 22nd. These are the last dates for the year. Just because it's the introduction doesn't mean that it's we have people who are at all levels of their journey join us for You Should Do Voiceover, as I said, complementing and supplementing, and then we can hit the ground running once we do those initial 6 weeks. So for being on the call today, thank you. We would love to have everyone who's here take advantage of saving $100 off of the class, you can sign up here. So this is for today. And here is how you do it. So I'll just leave that up. The promo code is GTKVO, get to know VO 100. And that's good till the end of the day Pacific time. So midnight Pacific time. Yeah, so what questions do we have? That was such a massive download. Was it valuable? It was like people found this helpful. I hope so. Jeffrey, let's start taking some questions and hear where people are at.
Sure, great stuff. So the first question we have is from Susan. Susan P. Payrolls. If you're still in the chat, please unmute yourself and pose your question. And if not, I can pose it for you and you can catch it on the replay. All right, I think she may have bounced. So what's the minimum decibel requirement to send out an audition was the question.
Oh, you mean like a sound, like a room tone, like a sound floor sort of thing?
That's my guess. Yeah. It seemed like a much more general, I feel like this is a bit of a nuanced sort of answer, but maybe a little quick overview.
Well, just in general, like in terms of setting your levels, ideally your levels will be between -6 and -12 for whatever you're recording, right? And then decibels, right? If you're looking by color, it's mostly in the yellow, above the green, mostly in the yellow, and maybe a little bit in the red. In terms of your sound floor or the room tone of what it sounds like when there is nothing, you want it as close to -60 as you can get if you're going visually, like just maybe 3 little bars, like just a little bit. And then, of course, you know, we all can be developing our own ears. Can you hear anything? Is there a hiss? Is there a distracting? Does it sound like a vacuum cleaner? Can you see something, right? If you have something goes like, that's not good. And I always suggest once you get your rooms, your studio set, or to is to get someone, you know, as Dan says, someone who knows how it's supposed to sound to help get it tweaked for you. But we can also be, you know, and we can be developing our own ear. So yeah, what's your thought on that, Kat?
So I took Jordan Reynolds' Audio Ninja course, and that one of the golden nuggets I got out of that is noise floor is just a general idea for the decibel levels, but it really also matters the frequency. So a high-pitched noise is going to be audible by the human ear at a much lower or higher, you know, smaller number in the negatives. So 60 noise floor of high-pitched versus a 60 noise floor of low-pitched are going to sound very different to the human ear. So you really need to listen to know. 60 is sort of the industry standard, but there are some very noisy 60s and there are some completely silent 60s. So.
Yeah, and then just to recognize that because we have a button that says silence, we also don't want to just like silence in between things, because then you get
awkward. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, and I did drop, since this came up now, because someone else was asking about like, well, how do we know if our booth is good enough? So Dan Leonard, our tech sensei, and George Whittam, friend of the dojo, whom we adore, they both offer $25 sound checks. So everyone on this call who's like, I think it's good enough, but I'm not sure, pay the $25. It'll be worth it. They will tell you if it's good enough or not. I was pleasantly surprised. I went to both of them and I was just like, oh, it's probably not good enough. And they were like, oh my God, your sound is amazing. So my little $500 system I've put together here. So
right. And you know, in terms of that metaphor of them being of the mechanics and getting a good mechanic, George and Dan do a webcast called Voiceover Body Shop. They've been doing for years. And it's kind of like listening to Click and Clack. If anyone remembers that NPR show with the brothers doing the auto repair things. But valuable resource if you want to just, I don't know, watch sports a little bit more and get in tune with what people are talking about and what the lingo is. It's a great place to be. So yeah. Well, what other questions do you have, Jeffrey? I would hope there are many.
Yeah, there's a few more. So Emily Folger, if you are in, I see you're still in, go ahead and unmute yourself and bring your question, or I can pose it for you if you'd like.
So that was actually kind of my same question, is that the noise floor levels and things like that. So you already answered it. So thank you.
Done and done. Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks, Emily. Great. Then moving right along, Hengia McCree. Let's see if you're still in here. Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself and bring your question.
Okay, I have a lot of finance problems and my computer is 13 years old. So I've heard this a couple times about an iPad mini. Have been trying to look into the MacBook Air without a fan, but I can't afford that right now.
I like the right now part. That's a good mindset.
No, yeah, because I definitely need one. And I've done, when I was in Germany, I did some voiceover work, a smattering of things, and I love studio work. But of course, even for my acting and everything, I have to have a camera studio, and I'm getting back into voiceover. So how far can the iPad mini take me as far as producing, submitting an audition, or even doing a session?
Any thoughts, Kat?
Yeah. I didn't finish my display of my travel setup. So I don't use, like me, I'm assuming you don't have perfect eyesight anymore. So maybe not the mini, but maybe the actual iPad. It's still such a tiny thing. This is the generation 2. Amazingly, it still does almost everything. There are some apps that are just like, but this is from when I went to the Middle East, like over a decade ago, and I needed a portable setup. And that's when I got the Apogee, my sock mic, my Apogee mic and my iPad. And I still travel with these. I edit on Twisted Wave, which I think is like $10 for the iPad version of it, or maybe it was $10 10 years ago. Who knows what it is now? But yeah, you can absolutely edit, record. I have booked many big TV commercials and stuff. I've recorded plenty of smaller jobs on my tablet. So yeah, and again, for people that already have a computer and don't want to buy another one, but they need something for travel or they need something silent, I love the Apogee Hype mic and the iPad or just tablet combo.
Yeah. So yes, you can. That's anything you need to do. It's not rocket science what we need to do, right? That little part of the chain you need, it goes through a mic, it goes into something where we can edit it, right? So yeah, well, hopefully that's helpful. And remind us how to say your name, dear.
It's Panya, and thank you for the
Panya.
advice. I am older, but I love tech, so I will afford it, and I would love to take some of your classes as well. But thank you.
Sure. Welcome. You're welcome. What are the questions, Jeffrey?
All right. We have let's see, Ted Lackey is the next one that I have.
Cool.
Go ahead and unmute yourself and come into the room, Ted. Welcome. Or if you're away, I can also pose it for you. Going once, going twice for Ted Lackey, and I'll pose it for you. You can catch it on the replay. So from Ted, are there objective measures, or is there a way to learn to develop your ear to know what to listen for, to be able to discern whether your recording space and mic placement are good?
It's a good question. Well, I think, I think really one of the first layers is tuning your ears to listening for nuances, right? When we do, you should do voiceover, we take a second, because the fourth rule of voiceover is listen carefully, right? We have the rules of the Dojo, rules of voiceover. Fourth rule of voiceover is listen carefully. So you can practice this simple exercise, which is basically set a timer for 30 seconds and be still and listen. Listen for the layers within the layers within the layers. I'm going to stop talking for a second. We'll just do it for a short amount of time, but just listen to the nuances that you can hear. Or what's so loud that you can't hear anything else, right? My computer's a little huffy puffy right now, but you can hear your breath. So that's just one simple way that you can do it. I think there's something really powerful too as you start working with a dog, that when you can see something and hear it, like if something looks like bzzz or boom, right? If something visually looks big or fat or something, and then you can listen to it and like, oh, I see. That looks big and fat, and it sounds like, right? So I think that's another way. Any thoughts, Kat? Other thoughts on how to develop?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm someone who still doesn't have a great ear, which is why I rely on like George and Dan, where I'm like, I don't know, I've shared that I have an agent who doesn't like the sound of my auditions, and all my clients and agents for the past 15 years have said, great, never had a complaint. I send it to George and Dan and they're like, sounds good to me. But this one agent is convinced I have the most awful sounding auditions. So, we all have different ears and hear different things. Taking Jordan's course really helped me a lot. But yeah, I just, once I get professional feedback that everything sounds good here, I just set it and forget it. I don't add too much or tweak too much. And I just trust, of course it sounds good because this is the same space, that I'm almost always recording in.
Yeah. And then I think it's a really great question that Ted asks, because sometimes you get a flat tire, or sometimes you're in a place where you're like, haha, how does this sound? Oh, like I'm in an airport bathroom. Okay. Yeah. Good. Cool. Hopefully that's helpful. What are the questions?
All right, we have a question from Eli. Simply
Wait,
Eli.
Ellie?
Oh, perhaps Ellie. Perhaps Ellie.
Is it Ellie Schiff? Ellie Schiff, are you here?
It is Eli, and that is it. So Ellie or Eli, if you are here, I see you're in the room, but muted. Going once, going twice.
If it is Ellie, it's good to know that you're like sharing now.
It's actually Eli.
Oh, it is Eli. Different. Okay, we're thinking.
I've had some people call me Ellie, and I'm fine with that. It sounds cute.
Yay! Where are you calling from, Eli?
I'm from London.
Excellent. I've heard of it. That's good. What's your question?
So with voice acting, the things I worry most about are how good of an actor I am and my audio quality. So right now, what I'm trying to do is to record a demo reel. And what I'm worrying most about is that I want it to be the absolute best quality it is. And that I think that's what people are going to be listening most at. So right now, my home studio is basically just a cupboard at this point, but I want to upgrade the room that I live in, which is pretty small and has a lot of stuff that could absorb sound. So I think it's good so far, but I don't know if it's good enough for a demo reel. But with the advice you gave me, I just Googled the studios near me, and I found this one that's quite literally across the street from where I live.
See, there you go. Yeah. Well, let me unpack. So your questions are great, and let me unpack everything. Let's take everything that you've been saying. So first of all, as we started with this session, starting with the internal work and the mindset, you use the phraseology, my fear is, or what I'm worried about, which is natural. We all are, especially as we're going into uncharted territory, right? There's things we don't know. And so how can we change that feeling by going, ooh, what I'm interested in knowing or what I'm excited about, right? Because when we go fear, I'm afraid it's not going to be good enough. I'm afraid. So just that's one thing, like starting with that level. Then there's the layer of, I love what you said. I'm working on building my skills and developing my tech. And that is always, always, always the correct order to build your career. Always, because you can be in the best sounding studio on the planet. And if your takes aren't compelling or interesting or shining every aspect of yourself, ideally we have those things where, you know, when you do that tagline, every aspect of yourself is right. So we don't want to get too overwhelming. But when you can bring yourself fully, that is what makes your takes, etc. So always, always, always the emphasis is on the skills and what you're bringing to the party, and then making sure your tech doesn't sound bad, right? That's really kind of it. Then there's the layer of when are you ready to do your demo, right? Which is in some ways a variation of what Ted asked about sound. How do you know when you're ready to make your demo? At the dojo, one of the barometers we use is, can you pick up any piece of copy and nail it without any direction within 1 or 2 takes? If you can, that's probably a good sign. Because if you're working with a good demo producer, a good demo producer is going to make you sound great. Can you deliver what is going to be on that demo, right? So that's a whole nother discussion. Then you have the layer of, is my studio in my, is your studio the place where it would be best for you to record your professional quality demo? Now, one school of thought is, if you're auditioning in addition to your skills, your studio is being auditioned as well. So in some ways, it could behoove you, if you're working with a demo producer who is going to be making sure that your studio is set up so that you can produce a competitive professional quality demo. Then you have, I like the phrase, feed 2 birds with 1 scone rather than killing 2 birds. You get both of those things. So then you have someone else's ears on your studio, and you know it's set up to deliver session quality. So that's another layer. And I think those were a lot of layers. Anything else to add, Kat? I unpacked a lot there. You see how they all kind of go together, and we can't talk about one without talking with the other. Yeah. Other thoughts, Kat?
Yeah, like you say, I do think it's important. I mean, you shouldn't, I don't like to use the word shouldn't. I don't think it's the best idea to record a demo until you are ready to be in a live directed session. And a lot of people, like, they get there like, first I got to get my demo and then blah, blah, blah. The demo should be probably the very last thing before you launch. Because you have, nowadays, you not only have to be fully prepared to be ready to be directed in a session, but your sound has to be ready for a national network TV commercial. So if you're going to be auditioning for that, if you're currently just doing pay to plays and you're mostly doing like corporate narration and documentaries and telephone answering systems, there's certain things that require a higher level. But yeah, I think it's best to do your demo once you're ready to have, or, you know, you don't have to ever do a pro quality studio. For years, I had my sort of audition home setup, and I really preferred, and I still prefer, to go to a studio where I can just be the talent. I don't want to be the sound engineer and the director and the editor and the invoicer. Like, I don't want to do all that stuff. So I love the stuff, you know, our union stuff where you get hired for a job, you go to a studio and other people do all that other stuff. But if you're working on stuff where you are the director, the editor, the engineer, all this stuff, then you really should have this pro level home studio. And then I don't see why you wouldn't do your demo in that space. And then you can wave that flag of like, this is my demo, trust that it was recorded in my studio. So you know this is the sound quality of my studio.
Mhm. Yeah. Is that helpful, Eli?
Yes, very much.
Good, 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 good. We're coming up to the last 5 minutes. I think we can maybe take 1 or 2 more questions. Before everybody hops off, would love to hear your Dojo O for today. So at the Dojo, whenever we gather, whenever we come together, which is where the synergy of focusing all of our energy to amplify each of our efforts comes. Whenever we come together, we finish up with what we call the Dojo O, which is of all the stuff that we talked about today, what is one thing that made you go, oh, or oh, what's one thing? And how can you distill it into its most essential form and put that in the chat? Because we'd love to hear what your takeaway from today is, or, oh, takeaway is negative, and I'm taking it away. What you're bringing with you, what you're going to bring with you from this. That's a really positive way to think about it. Yeah, so put your Dojo O's in, and if you are interested and you should do voiceover. I want to share one more thing. If anything about anything we're talking about is intriguing to you and you have more questions and you'd like some one-on-one time, you can sign up for what we call voiceover once-over. 15 minutes with one of the team, and we can talk about where you're at and where you'd like to be, or just have a little bit more time. But feel free to sign up for one of those, and we'd love to talk with you more. It's www.thevodojo.com/VOO, voiceover once-over. So feel free to do that. So let's and here's this offer for the, oops, hold on. Here's this offer for the you should do voiceover promo code as well for midnight tonight, midnight Pacific time, because it's already getting close to midnight where Eli is. Jeffrey, I think we have time for one more question or a few quick ones. What do you think?
Yeah, these are really quick. So Heidi MacGyver was wondering, oh, Heidi's in here, so go ahead and pose your question.
I'm brand new to all of this, and I was wondering what the connectivity software was. I understand the Ethernet connection part, but is that for like live recording and sharing with?
Oh, yes. That's a good question. So what are you connecting to? So basically, when you use a connectivity tool like Source Connect, what happens is over the internet, what you speak into the microphone here, it goes through Source Connect, and it is in real time being recorded at the other studio. It used to be something called ISDN, and it used to go through copper wires. And ISDN is non-existent anymore. It's like finding a dinosaur bone. So yeah, that is what happens when you open Source Connect. Your mic is basically virtually connected in real time, as if you were on the other side of the glass, and the engineer can work with you. So,
okay, so that's for an instance where they are gonna direct you, and then they're gonna edit and engineer.
Yes,
and all that stuff.
for a directed session, as if you were coming into a studio to work with a director. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, just one more little semantic thing that we always talk about at the dojo is there is no they, there's only we. Because when we go they, what they want, what they're going to do, when they are doing that, when we're working on a directed session, when we're collaborating to get this job done, right? Little fun things that open your heart. Awesome. It's great to meet you, Heidi. And I just want to say your name, Heidi MacGyver. Heidi MacGyver.
I've heard it's a great name.
Yeah. We have time for one more?
Yes. So Kat offered to take this one from Oksana. I'm going to slander this. Vietnamese Benedician?
I still hear Oksana.
It's Fedunition,
Close, close.
Thank you.
like ammunition.
Right. Oh, good. Definition. Excellent. What's your question, Oksana?
My question is, I have a portable studio that I set up every time I need to record. One of those boxes that you showed earlier in the presentation. And I have covering that I put over it. But do I need to put acoustic foaming behind myself? Or do I just need to put acoustic foaming behind the mic?
Oh, I'm so glad I offered to take this one. Firstly, I would probably say throw that box away because again, like when you listen to those recordings, it sounds like a microphone in a phone box. I honestly think you're better off not ever putting your mic into a thing like that. Put it in a space and put some things around. You have to think of your booth as not only 360, you're asking about front and back, side, up, down, it's a sphere. So anywhere your voice is bouncing around, if you're only putting treatment behind you or only in front of you, whether you're talking about behind or in front of the mic, ideally you're covering a substantial portion of all the ways that the sound is coming in, because the sound is bouncing off everywhere. So I would rather you put a big blanket over a chair and sit like, something that's over you and the mic, and it makes a little space. To me, that's going to sound better than putting your mic into a foam cube and talking into that cube is going to just deaden your voice completely at the source, at the mic.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
that was part of why I was saying when you do have a box, you need to figure out how it sounds, and it doesn't. So if it's pushed too far, it will sound like a box. If you find a place where it is this, and then your excellent question to ask Oksana, because you're intuiting, your awareness is, oh, how do I create that space? So it kind of ties in with Ted's thing too. How do we know what it sounds like, right? So your intuition is on track there. Yeah. Good.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
It is 11:32, my friends. This has been a fantastic session, and thank you all for being here. If you want to mark the third Wednesday of the month, we always have something get to know VO going on at that time. Also, the first Wednesday of the month is Ask the Sensei, our free monthly Q&A, where we answer more questions, any questions about anything, voiceover related. I mean, there's lots of questions to be asked, but yeah, if you are interested in the You Should Do voiceover offer, we would love to have you join us. And again, it is not just for beginners. So if you are intrigued, sign up for a voiceover once-over. And we have our Working Pro workouts, the VO Dojo Pro Fight Clubs. Over the summer, we have one more coming up for August, and then we're into our full schedule. Kritia Bajos is one of the most amazing video game directors and kick-ass voiceover talents. So if you have any interest in anything like that, that's coming up. Yeah, check out the website, sign up for a VOO. We want to get to know you, and we're so glad that you're able to join us today. Thank you, Kat, for your time and sharing your insights and expertise as always. And Jeffrey, thank you for making everything flow. Look forward to seeing everyone whenever is next. And thank you so very much.
Everyone, hope to see you around the dojo.
Thanks, guys.